there was a memorial service for Steve, and I was fortunate to be invited to it, and it was at Stanford, and I realized it was going to be special because Steve was very mindful and conscious about everything that he did, and I knew that he had planned this, and everything from the program and who was going to be speaking, and to who the caterer was, and it was a phenomenal program, and I was there, and we heard Larry Ellison spoke, and his family spoke, and Bono and the Edge played, Yo-Yo Ma played, and then there was this reception afterwards. And then we were all leaving, and on the way out, they handed us a small brown box.
Okay.
And I received the box, and I said, this is going to be good. Because I knew that this was a decision that he made, that everyone was going to get this. So whatever this was the last thing he wanted us to all think about.
Okay.
So I waited until I got to my car, and I opened the box. And what is the box? What is in this brown box? And it was a copy of Yogananda's book. Do you know who Yogananda is? So Yogananda was a Hindu guru who had this kind of book on self-realization.
Okay.
And that was the message. The message was actualize yourself.
Yeah.
That was Yogananda's message.
Okay.
And if you look back at the history of Steve, that early trip that he went to India to go to the ashram of his Maharishi, and he had this incredible realization that it was his intuition was his greatest gift, and that he needed to look at the world from the inside out.
Yeah.
And here his last message to us was, here is, Yogananda's book. And I spoke to someone who was responsible for acquiring all the books, and they're like, yeah, it was a hard time even finding all the books. We had a hard time finding the books and getting them and wrapping them up. And I just thought of that, and I look at Steve as a very spiritual person, especially as he relates to our industry, that he, in many ways, was, the guru. And that's how I used him in my work at Salesforce. When I had a really hard problem, I would call him, or I would go down to Apple and I would say, what should I do? And that's how I saw him. So when I look at that, I look at it with extreme gratitude and a level of generosity back. And I remember his thought that we need to all be working on actualizing ourself.
Yeah.
And that book, which is called Autobiography of a Yogi, if you haven't read it, and if you want to understand Steve Jobs, it's a good idea to dip into that, because I think that it gives a tremendous insight into who he was, but also why he was successful, which is he was not afraid to take that, key journey. And that is for entrepreneurs and for people who want to be successful in our industry, a message that we need to embrace and to vest ourselves in.